So before we get into what you currently doing now and what you aim to do in the future, what got you into fashion? Like, I mean, for me personally, is once I started making my own money. And my parents couldn't say you only getting sketches once a year. I was like, I'm gonna charging my own sauce. So what was that point where you were like, nah, this fashion shit is my personality. It's part of my how I want to present myself to the world.
I would definitely have to say, early on in the game, we got invited to a New York Fashion Week sanctioned show.
How old were you?
22.
Okay.
Yes, 22. Me and Tay was both 22. It was our first fashion show. We had no business being there.
Okay.
Like, absolutely no business being there. Like, till this day, like, if I was to get that show right now, I would be super content. Like, I'm like, even this far down the line, I would be like, yo, all right, this is amazing. But anyway, that was our first show. We had no business being there. And we were welcomed to the point where it was like we felt like we belonged in that room. And that was huge for me because we didn't have no reassurance yet. We ain't have shit yet. Like, we kind of made our bread and butter with like pop-ups. And speaking of that, I don't know why we're acting like this is not like my guy, by the way. Like, there's like a tension here that like we're two designers that don't really know each other.
We know each other.
Like, we have had pop-ups together, like, to the point. Like, these pop-ups that I'm talking about that make my bread and butter, like a lot of them they was a part of. With rest in peace, Sean, by the way. But yeah, and that's a whole nother thing. But anyway, I don't want to about that. But listen, we felt like we belonged in that room, and that was major for us. And that was the moment where I felt like, regardless of what, wins or loss, this is going to be a part of my life.
I need to do this.
Yes, I need to do this. Like, I may take a break. Like I said, I may have some downtime. I may have ups, downs. But this shit right here, like,
this is me.
This is me. Like, regardless of what, I need to give this to the world. Like, regardless if people sell me out, regardless if I sell 2 pieces, like, I'm going to share my creativity and my content and my everything to the world. And I think that definitely happened at that first show, that New York Fashion Week show that we did not belong at.
That's beautiful.
So how'd you get the, like,
how'd you get in?
What
You
was it,
snuck
a story?
in?
That actually is a story. Our first model, her name was Tamika. She modeled with everybody. So she threw us out there. Somebody name fell out. They said, you know what, I have a brand. I just shot them last week. Nice. Whatever the case may be. They threw us that link. We was in there and they needed somebody immediately. So like everybody was locked up. Like everybody. And brands that was at that level, I'm sure you guys know, it takes a lot of production and everything. So they had already had everything locked up. And me, of course, we didn't have nothing. So it was nothing to say, yo, you're doing this. I'm like, okay, like I didn't have no money tied up nowhere else. We didn't have no models already. So it was nothing. We just walked in there, used the models that they had for that brand, threw us everything, and we just took advantage of that. It was super amazing. But yes, that's how it happened. It was definitely a story.
All right, what about for you, Zeus?
For me, I mean, I've always been into fashion, but not high-end fashion, just regular streetwear.
Well, when did that start? Like,
I feel like that started in high school, right? So I had moved from White Plains to this small town called Elmsford, New York, and it was predominantly black, right? So like black and Hispanic. So I just came from a kind of, it was a lot of white folk. It was mixed, but more white people than anybody that looked like me, right? So I get there and I'm like wearing fucking Airwalks and shit, like
LL Bean fucking zip-ups and shit, like.
And I see my peers and I'm like,
they saucy.
Jordans, they get fresh. So that's kind of my introduction into like basketball and streetwear, right? So ever since high school, like 12, 13 years old, just into hip hop and shit, like the hip hop culture. Getting into streetwear, I just felt like I love streetwear so much that I wanted to be somehow a part of the community, not just as a consumer, but also as someone that can provide the clothing.